Okay, so question 24 says find the area of a triangle with base 12 centimeters and height 7 centimeters. So I don't know if we really necessarily need the picture here, but I'm really not great at drawing triangles that aren't like equilateral triangles. I really struggle with this. So let me see if I can try and draw one. There we go. Okay, so the height, that's your height, and then this is your base down here. So it says to find the area of a triangle with base 12 and height 7. Now the formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And so they're telling me that the base is 12 centimeters and the height is 7 centimeters. So I'm just going to take and plug that into my formula here. 1/2 times 12 times 7. And when I solve that, I should get 42, it looks like. And I want to put centimeters squared because you have square units, right? So my area here would be 42 square centimeters. The reason it's square centimeters is because I'm taking centimeters times centimeters, which gives me centimeters squared. All right, number 25. Find the area of a rectangular field, which is 55 meters long and 37 meters wide. Okay, so again, I don't know if we necessarily need the picture, but I'll draw it. And we're looking for the area here of a rectangle. So area of a rectangle is length times width. And my length is 55 meters. And then the width is 37 meters. So that's W there. Okay, so we just plug them into our formula. Area equals 55 times 37. And 55 times 37 is 2,035. And then we're going to do meters squared. All right. Let's see here. I just want to verify that that is in fact true. Yep, sure is. Okay. Find the exact circumference and the exact area of a circle with a diameter of 17 inches. Okay, so we are going to draw a circle here. And diameter means it's the distance all the way across a circle that goes through the center. And so this is your diameter, and it tells me that it is 17 inches. So we want to find circumference, and it says exact. Exact means leave pi in your answer. So for the circumference, this is going to be 2 pi r, or we had the formula of pi times the diameter. Now for the area of a circle, that's going to be your pi r squared. And you'll know that it's the r squared, the one that has a square in it, because we know that area is square units. And so you have to, that's where you get the square units from if you have r squared. So that might help you remember the formulas there. Now, we know that the diameter is 17, right? So if the diameter is 17, then that means the radius has to be half of that, right? Because the radius is the distance. Let me get a color here. Is this distance right here? I don't know if you can even see that. Seems like a terrible choice to use that highlighter there for that. So perhaps I should use the pen instead. So there we go. That's a little bit darker. So this is going to be the radius right there. It's half of the diameter. So we take 17 and we cut it in half. We can either just leave it as 17 over 2, or we can write this as 8.5. That's what that is. So either way, now it's up to you which formula you want to use for circumference. Since we do have a formula for pi times the diameter, and we have the diameter, we might as well just use that one. So pi times 17, or 17 pi. That would be the circumference. Let me rewrite that 17. Looks a little sloppy. There we go. And then for the area, we do have to have the radius for that one. You don't have a formula for diameter in the area. So area is going to be equal to pi times, and my radius is either 8.5, since this is an exact decimal. I'll also show it with the fraction. So pi times, well, 8.5 squared is 72.25. So my answer would be 72.25 pi. That's if you wrote it with the decimal. Now, if you went the fraction method, these are the same, you could go pi times 17 over 2 squared. And 17 squared is going to give you 289. And 2 squared is 4. So your final answer, if you went this route, would be 289 fourths times pi. And I need to put inches on here because this one should have inches and this one should have square inches. So I forgot that here. Let me write that. Square inches there. Okay, so I believe the answer key has the fractional one on here, but this is an or, either or. It just depends on what your answer choices look like, if it's multiple choice. And then this one, of course, is kind of set. So these two are just different ways to represent that, depending on what's being asked of you. Okay, approximate the circumference and the area of a circle with radius of 7 inches using pi equals 3. It's kind of a strange number to use for an approximation, but it is an approximate value, so if you're just getting kind of a general approximation here, then it says the radius is 7 inches. So circumference, again, is 2 pi r. Since we know r, then we would want to use that formula. So 2 times pi times 7, which is, oh wait, hold on. Let me go back. I'm using 3 in place of pi. So 2 times 3 times 7. So this would be 42, and that would just be inches. And I'm going to actually put a squiggly equals for approximate. Okay, and then for the area, we are using pi r squared. So in place of pi, I'm going to put in the 3. And in place of the r, I'm putting in 7. So 3 times, remember exponents have to come first. So we do exponents first, which is 49. And then 49 times 3 is equal to 147. And then this will be square inches because it's area, square units. Okay, oh, and again, let me put my squiggly equals there because this is approximately equal to. There we go. All right, number 28 says, for problems 28 through 30, simplify. So I do have a negative to distribute here. So I'll start with that, negative 12x, positive 10. And then over here, I'm going to distribute that 5, so I get 15x and then minus 10. So I need to look for some like terms. And I see I have negative 12x and a positive 15x, which is, oh, sorry, let me finish my like terms. I have positive 10 and negative 10. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, negative 12x plus 15x would be a positive 3x. And then positive 10 and negative 10, well, they add up to 0, right? So those cancel out. And therefore, your answer is just 3x. All right, number 29, I'm going to distribute. This gives me a negative 3x plus 3, and then minus 4x. So again, look for some like terms here. I see that I have a negative 3x and a negative 4x. And then you've got this plus 3 all by itself. So negative 3 and negative 4, when you combine them, give you negative 7x. And then plus 3 is still just kind of hanging out there. Okay, number 30. I'm going to bring down my 3x here, and I need to distribute my -4. So -4x, -8, and then +1. So it looks like I have some like terms here, 3x and -4x. And then I've got some like terms here, -8 and +1. So when I combine, I get -1x. 3 minus 4 is -1. -8 plus 1 is -7. So my final answer would just be -x minus 7. Okay, there we go. For problems 31 to 34, it says to evaluate. So using your order of operations. Now, order of operations, which I've mentioned a few times already in this video, is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Or you could say, you know, PEMDAS, if you like that better. You'll notice that the way I wrote it is a little bit different than maybe the way you normally see it. And that's because I like to put together my, oops, get another color here. My multiply and divide are in the same step, and then my add and subtract, those are in the same step. So it's really 4 steps. The first step is look for your grouping symbols or your parentheses. Second step, look for exponents or square roots or absolute values or things like that so like really grouping symbols that need to be evaluated. So instead of E for exponent, I like to think of E as evaluate things like absolute values and square roots and square things, right? So that's that step. And then in the third step, it's multiplication and division from left to right. So as you read your problem from left to right, you want to do whatever comes first. And then you get to your fourth step of adding and subtracting, and you do whatever comes first from left to right also. So when I look at number 31 here, I see that I do have some grouping symbols here, some parentheses. And so I need to simplify what's inside my parentheses. So I have the, oh my goodness, oh no, hold on. I accidentally hit the wrong thing. It's trying to get my eraser. Okay, let's try this again. So square root of 36 minus 2, and inside my parentheses, I need to take 4 minus 7. Now 4 minus 7 is -3. Okay, so my grouping symbols are done. Now I go to my second step, which is kind of my evaluate step, and I see that I have a square root here that needs to be evaluated. So let me go ahead and evaluate that. All right, square root of 36, so I'm asking myself what number times itself gives me 36? Well, that would be 6. Okay, and then after I have done my evaluating or exponents or whatever, then we look for multiplying and dividing. And I see here that I do have multiplication because of these parentheses. This is -2 times -3. And -2 times -3 would be +6. Right? So now we would just add that together and get 12. Okay. So on number 32, I don't have any grouping symbols at all. So then I mean, I have these parentheses, but it's only putting one number inside, so it's not really grouping anything together. So then I move to my next step, which is exponents or evaluating, and I see that I have this 5 here, that 5 squared, that needs to be evaluated. So I'm going to go ahead and just write this stuff down the way it is, and I'm just going to take 5 and multiply it by itself. That minus sign is not in parentheses with the 5, so it's not being squared, just the 5 is. So 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, now I go to multiplying and dividing, which I don't really have any of. However, I do have this negative in front of a parentheses, so you can kind of think of that as multiplication. It's like taking -1 times -7. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with that as +7. Okay, and now we just add and subtract from left to right. So -3 plus 4 would be 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. And then 8 minus 25 would be -17. All right. So it looks like 33 and 34 are also evaluate problems. Let's see here. Okay, so more order of operations. Again, we look for grouping symbols, and in number 33, we don't have any. We don't have any exponents or square roots or absolute values to handle, so nothing to worry about there. So then we go into multiply and divide from left to right. So as I read left to right, I see, oh, there's a division symbol. Let me stop there. So 9 divided by 3, that's 3. Okay, now start over again. Read from left to right. Look for multiply and divide. Oh, there's multiplication. 3 times 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. Okay. Multiply and divide. Nope. I'm done with all of those. So now we go to add and subtract left to right. So 16 plus 12 is 28. And 28 minus 7 is 21. Okay. I know that one can be a little bit tricky because you see the division and the multiplication. And since so many people are used to saying PEMDAS, they think they should multiply before divide. But remember, those come together in the same step from left to right. Okay. On number 34, again, we have parentheses or grouping symbols. Here, let me write my... And I'll put my colors back on it because why not, right? Colors are fun. There we go. Okay, so PEMDAS. All right, so I'm looking for grouping symbols. Now I do have absolute value bars. Those are grouping things together. And the fraction bar also groups things together. So on the top here, I have 8 minus. Inside my absolute values, I need to simplify that. So negative 3 minus 9 is negative 12. I'm going to try and draw some extra long. Here we go. And then my fraction bar here, I'm going to go ahead and leave this stuff underneath alone. Okay, so once I do my parentheses, quote unquote, simplified inside my grouping symbols, now I need to evaluate inside those grouping symbols. So I have the absolute value of negative 12, and the absolute value of negative 12 is just 12, right? It's the distance that you are from 0 on the number line. Okay. So now that I have simplified that aspect of the numerator, now we say, okay, do I have multiplication, division? Now, since you have this grouping symbol, the fraction bar separating the top and the bottom, you really can simplify both the top and the bottom kind of simultaneously, like at the same time. So I probably should have started looking at that over here. And so maybe, I think, can I redo, if you guys don't mind? I'm going to go back and I'm going to redo what I did here. I'm going to leave the top alone, but on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and start simplifying as it, because this is a grouping symbol as well. It's underneath the fraction bar. So I have multiply and add. I should multiply first, right? So 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and then plus 7. Okay. Now, when I combine the numbers on the bottom, negative 15 plus 7, I get negative 8. And on the top of my fraction there, 8 minus 12 is negative 4. Okay, now at the very end, we need to deal with this fraction bar. Now that the top and the bottom are both simplified, now we need to deal with this division. Negative 4 divided by negative 8 simplifies to positive 1 over 2. Or we could say, 1/2, right? 1/2. Okay. 35 and 36. Let's see. Well, 35 says, write 0.6% as a decimal. So when it says 0.6%, that's percent, that means per 100. So if you wanted to type that into your calculator and say, okay, 0.6 divided by 100, then what that does is it moves your decimal 2 places to the left, and it gives you 0.006, right? So 2 places to the left, and then that gives you those 2 zeros in front of the 6. That's all for that one. Now write 6.1 as a percent. Okay, so all right. So 6.1 as a percent would be to multiply times 100%. And the reason that we multiply times 100% is because you're really just multiplying by 1, right? If you think about it, 100% means 100 per 100, which is 1, right? So when I multiply by 100%, I'm just multiplying by 1, right? So the percent symbol just kind of comes along, and then 6.1 times 100 moves your decimal place 2 places to the right. So this is going to give me 610%. Okay. All right. Write 0.45 or 45 hundredths as a simplified fraction. Well, this is the tenths and then the hundredths place. And so you go out to whatever the last place value you have, which is the hundredths place, and then you take your number and you write it over that 100. And then we need to reduce. So it looks like I can divide both the top and the bottom by 5. And I know this is bad form to write it this way, but 45 divided by 5 would be 9. And 100 divided by 5 is 20. So 9/20. Okay. Write all of this stuff in scientific notation. Okay, so scientific notation, you want to write the first non-zero digit from left to right. So you want to put the decimal point right after that number. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move my decimal point right there. That's where I want my decimal, right there. So what I have to do is put, okay, well, I'm going to eventually get 5.85, but in order for these to be equivalent, I have to multiply this by 10 raised to some power. Since this original number is smaller than 5.85, that means my exponent's going to be negative. And I need to know how many places do I have to move that to get it where I want it, right? So I'm going to move my decimal, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. That's going to be my exponent. Now it's negative again because my original number was smaller than 5.85. So that would be that. Okay. All right. Number 39 says to write in standard notation. So I have 4.8 and, sorry about that. And I'm multiplying it times 10 to the negative 6th. Well, since it's negative, that means my original number must be smaller. And so if my original number is smaller, then I need to move my decimal 6 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put that decimal there. And when you do that, then you're going to fill in all of these spaces here with zeros. So all those little loopies there. So my answer would be, now I like to always put a 0 in front of my decimal as well. So let's see, let me try that again. Okay, so after the decimal point, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And then I have the 4 and the 8. So that would be my original number. Okay, a rectangular pool measures 15 feet by 20 feet. How much fence is needed to go around the pool? Okay, well, this sounds like a perimeter type of problem. So I have 20 feet here, and then I have 15 feet here, right? Well, if I want fence to go all the way around, then I need to also have fencing for this side and this side, right? Now, there is a formula, but you don't have to necessarily memorize it. I mean, I think we talked about it at the first page. 2L plus 2W. And this means you're adding up 2 of the lengths plus 2 of the widths. Or you can just add up all the sides, however you like to do that. So I'll call this my length and this my width. So 2 times 20 plus 2 times 15. And what do we have? We have 40 plus 30, which is 70. And my units are feet. 70 feet of fencing is what's needed to go around the pool. So 70 feet. Okay. Number 41, Marcia borrows $8,500 and agrees to pay it back in 4 years. If the simple interest rate is 17%, find the total amount she pays back. Okay, so I equals PRT is my simple interest formula. And so we know that I is the interest amount, P is the borrowed amount, R is the interest rate, and T is the time in years. So Marcia borrows, that's the principal, $8,500, and agrees to pay it back in 4 years. So that's my time. And the rate is 17%, which as a decimal would be 0.17. Find the total amount she pays back. Okay, now the total amount is kind of an important distinction here. Total amount. This is only going to tell me the interest. And we need to know how much she has to pay back. Well, she's going to have to pay back that $8,500 plus the interest, right? So the total is going to be the principal plus the interest, right? So that 8,500 plus whatever we find for the interest. Okay, so interest is 8,500 times 0.17 times 4. Okay, so let me use my calculator to find that. So 8,500 times 0.17 times 4 equals 5,780, which we are now going to have to add to the principal to find out how much she owes and she has to pay back. So 5,780 plus 8,500 is $14,280. So the total amount, $14,280. That's how much she would owe. Okay. The purchase price of a camcorder is $790. What is the total price if the sales tax rate is 7%? Okay, so purchase price, in other words, the sticker price is, so purchase is $790. Sales tax rate is 0.07. So we want to know the total price. So I need to figure out how much is the sales tax, and then I'm going to add that. So again, for the total, it's going to be the purchase price plus the tax. Okay, so the purchase price was $790 plus whatever I find for the tax. So to find the tax, I'm going to take the $790 and I'm going to multiply it by 0.07. So 790 times 0.07 is equal to 55.3, $55.30. I'm going to put a 30 because it's money, right? So let's write that over here, and we'll need to add that on to the 790. So plus 790 equals $845.30. So let me put my dollar sign on it, 845.30. Okay. Let's see. All right, number 43. During a 258-mile trip, a car used 12 gallons of gas. How many miles would we expect the car to travel on 1 gallon of gas? Okay, so it sounds like we need to set up kind of a ratio here. So 258 miles, we used 12 gallons of gas, or maybe it's a proportion, I guess. How many miles would we expect the car to go for 1 gallon? Oh, it's like a unit rate. Okay, there we go. So we need to know miles per 1 gallon. So 258 miles for 12 gallons. Okay, so when we divide this, 258 divided by 12 gives me 21.5 miles. 21.5 miles per 1 gallon, right? So it just says how many miles would we expect the car to travel? Well, it would travel 21.5 miles. Okay. Sally needs a new stove. One stove costs $486, while another stove costs $415. How much more expensive is the higher price stove? Okay, well, let's find the difference, right? The higher price stove is $486. And we want to know how much higher is it. So subtract off the 415. And that's $71. So I think it's that easy. $71 more expensive. There you go. Okay, for 45 through 46, find the mean, median, mode, and third quartile for the given data. So there's a couple ways you can do this using a graphing calculator, or you can do this by hand. I don't know, it's not really, you will still need a calculator, I would say, to find the mean. The rest of these things you can probably find. I did not really leave enough space for that, I don't think. So let's see, I'll do my best. Okay, so it doesn't really tell me if this is sample data or population data, so I'm just going to use sample, or actually we'll just use the word mean. We'll just say mean. Okay, so to find the mean, we need to add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers we have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 numbers here. So when I add all of them together and then divide by 8, that's going to tell me my mean. I want to show you on the calculator, the graphing calculator, how you can do this and find all this information, except for the mode you'll have to do by hand. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to pause while I pull up the calculator. Okay, so on your calculator, what you'll do is you're going to press the stat button, and you're going to go to edit. And then up here, you're going to need to type in your list of values. And on our problem, we have, let's see, 68, 65, 68 again, 45, 47, 65, 65 again, and 49. So there's our 8 values. And from here, if you press the stat button and go over to calc and choose option number 1, var stats, it's going to ask you to choose your list, which we put it in list 1. So we'll just leave that alone and hit enter. Then on this menu here at the very top, you're going to see X bar, and that is your mean. So what it has done is it's added all your numbers together and it divided by 8 for you. Now, when you add all the numbers together, you get 472, which is this part right here underneath the 59. And then your N down here below all of this other stuff in the middle, N is telling you how many numbers you have. There's 8 of them. And then at the bottom, if you look here, what were the other things we were asked to find? The median. Well, there's MED, 65. That's the median. Mode is something we have to just look at the numbers. It's the one that appears the most number of times. And the third quartile, Q3, is right here, 66.5. So we can get really everything we want from this menu here on the calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and move back here. Let me just verify these answers are correct. So the mean is 59, right? Yep. And then the median, 65, and then the third quartile is 66.5. So let's go back to our document here. And for the mean, let me zoom back out a little bit. We're just a little bit close. There we go. Okay. So for the mean, we had, what did we say, 59. And again, if you want to add them all up and divide by 8, that's how you would get that. The median, if you have to do this by hand, which is 65, then what you do is you put all your numbers in order from least to greatest. So the smallest number being 45, the next one is 47, and then 49. Let me just mark these off as I do this. And then we have 65 like 3 times, right? 65, 65, and 65. 1, 2, 3. And then we have 68 and 68. I'm going to erase this in a second, but there we go. All right, so there's all the numbers. You have to put them in order, least to greatest. And then once you do that, you kind of work your way into the middle, because you want the one number that's in the very middle of all your data. So if you like cross them off one at a time, like from each side, like one here, then you work your way kind of in, you find that you actually have two numbers here in the middle. And so to find the median of those two numbers, you would add them together and divide by 2, which in this case would then also give you 65. So that's how you would find the median of your data set. Now, if you want to find the mode, well, the mode, you just look for which number appears the most times. Well, it looks like we have 3 65s, so 65 appeared the most number of times. And then we also want to know the third quartile. So to do this by hand, you would take, and let me, I want to use a different color for this, if I can. I'm going to kind of box this here. This is my, second quartile, or my median, right? Oops, I'm going to get rid of these yellow lines here on these numbers. Okay, there we go. Let me just call that the median. Median, okay? So you take the average of the two numbers here in the middle, right? It's those two. Now, whenever I want to find the third quartile, that means it's the median of the upper half of my data. So that median is kind of like right here in between these two numbers. So that's where it cuts my data set in half. So to find the third quartile, I would kind of do the same thing again where I like cross, and then I have to take these two numbers here, 65 and 68, and I have to find the median of those numbers. So I'm going to take 65 plus 68 and divide that by 2. And that's what gives me that 66.5 as my third quartile. So 66.5 here. That's the average of those two numbers. Now, if it asks for the first quartile, it would be 48, because it would be the average of 47 and 49, right? So let me just put this here in red. Yeah, 65 plus 65 divided by 2. Well, the average of those two numbers would still be 65, right? So that's how you would do this by hand, and also on the calculator. The calculator does not tell you the mode. You would have to find the mode yourself, which is not hard, just which one appears the most times. Okay, so for number 46, let me make sure, I want to make sure that I did fix this on my review, which I believe I did. Okay, it's the same as the other. Okay, so same thing, you can use the calculator or you can do by hand. And I'm gonna, I should like have spaced that over a little bit. I don't really want to like erase that, but here we go. We'll just do it this way. All right, so the mean here of this data set, add them all up and divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Add them up and divide by 7. So let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. 12 plus 13 plus 12 plus 13 plus 25 plus 26 plus 13. And then I'm going to hit enter on my calculator, which is 114. So it's 114 divided by 7, which gives me, now we need to round to the nearest, I'm guessing 10th place. Let me double check our answer key here. Oh, they round out to 3 decimal places, I guess. Didn't really say, but I mean, normally, technically, you would actually round this to only 1 decimal place. Since, yeah, okay. So anyways, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and round it to 1 decimal place, but on the answer key, it is 3 decimal places. So it should be 16.3 if we round it to 1 decimal place. On the answer key, they have 16.286. So I guess it depends where it asks you to round to. So that's your mean. And then your median, again, you would have to write all your numbers out. And then your third quartile here. So if I put these all in order, least to greatest, then I'm going to have 12, 12, I need 3 13s, it looks like. 25 and 26. Okay. So then as I work my way in and kind of cross these off, it looks like my middle value here is this 13 right here. So that's going to be my median. Okay. So median is 13. My mode is also 13 because that's the number that appears the most times. And then my third quartile would be 25, because I would take this upper half of numbers and then I see that, oh, well, if I cross 13 and 26 off, then 25 is in the middle of those numbers. So this is my third quartile there. So third quartile, 25. Okay. Next, let's see. How long is this? Okay. Solve and write your solution in interval notation. Okay, so we have, again, you see this kind of 7 minus 2 here in front of the parentheses. Don't be tricked. Do not subtract that. You need to distribute, multiply before you add and subtract. So when I distribute here, I'm going to get 7 minus 2x plus 8 is less than 5 minus 10x. And I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms on the left-hand side here, which is 15 minus 2x less than 5 minus 10x. Now I need to figure out which side do I want to move my variables to. And usually you want to move them to the left side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to add my 10x over. And I get 15 plus 8x is less than 5. I'll subtract my 15 over. And this leaves me with 8x is less than, what is that, negative 10. So 8x less than negative 10. Now I need to divide both sides by 8. Now the only time that you have to worry about flipping your inequality is if you divide by a negative number. In this case, I'm dividing by a positive number, which leaves me with x is less than negative, let's reduce that, 5/4. Okay, and so I have less than negative 5/4. It says to solve and write your solution in interval notation. So here's my my solved part, and now I'm going to write a number line here just to show you on the graph. I'm going to stick negative 5/4 here in the middle just to demonstrate. And so we want to know which way am I supposed to shade on my graph here. Well, it says x is less than, meaning going to the left, right? Less than, left. And you see those symbols kind of look the same, right? Ah, interesting, huh? Okay, so to the left, x is less than negative 5/4. Now the question is, what do I put on this? Do I put a parentheses or a bracket? Well, I would do a parentheses. And the reason I'm doing the parentheses is because it is not equal to that number. So there's no line right here. You see, I'm just adding that line, but there's not supposed to be one, right? If there's no line there, then that means you're going to use parentheses. If there is a line, like this one down here on number 48, you would use a bracket on that one. Now, what does this point to? This points to negative infinity, right? So when you write your interval, it needs to be least to greatest, just like the number line, negative infinity up to negative 5/4 with a parenthesis on it. And that would be your, oops, final answer there.